I'm going to walk you through why the Waring double-deck pizza oven might actually be the piece of kitchen gear that finally lets you make restaurant-quality pies at home without turning your countertop into a furnace. If you've been on the fence because you're not sure how much heat you really need, whether a second deck is worth the extra footprint, or if you'll actually use it more than once a year, this isn't a hype-driven pitch. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. And I'll spend the next few minutes breaking down the practical side of owning one so you can decide if it fits your cooking style before you spend any money. First off, the biggest hesitation people have with any dedicated pizza oven is whether the promised temperature range translates into real, repeatable results in a home kitchen. The Waring model hits about 750 F on its high setting, which is hot enough to give you that blistered crust and quick bake you see in pizzerias. In practice, I've found that you need to preheat for roughly 15 minutes, and then a 12-inch pizza slides onto the stone and is done in 8 to 10 minutes. That's a lot faster than a standard home oven, which usually sits at 500 F and takes 15-20 minutes per pie. The speed matters if you're feeding a crowd or just want that char without waiting forever. What sets this unit apart is the independent double-deck layout. The lower deck is a solid 14-inch stone that holds steady heat, while the upper deck can be used simultaneously for a second pizza or for a different item like garlic knots or a small batch of flatbread. The decks are truly independent, meaning you can set each to a different temperature. In a real-world scenario, I used the lower deck at 750 F for a classic margarita and the upper deck at 500 F for a cheese-filled stromboli that needed a gentler bake. Both finished at the same time, which is a neat trick when you're trying to serve varied tastes at a party. Now let's talk about the practical strengths. The construction is all stainless steel with a brushed finish that holds up to the occasional splash of sauce without showing rust spots. The stone decks are thick enough to retain heat, which means once they're up to temperature, they stay stable even when you open the door to slide a pizza in. Power-wise, the oven runs on a standard 120V outlet and draws about 1500 W, so you don't need a special circuit. That makes it easy to place on a kitchen counter or even a sturdy kitchen island without rewiring. The warranty is a 1-year limited coverage, which is about what you see in this segment, and it gives a bit of peace of mind if you're worried about a faulty heating element. On the flip side, there are a few hidden trade-offs that can bite if your setup isn't ready for them. The unit's footprint is roughly 22 inches, so you'll need a dedicated space that can handle the heat output, especially if you have open shelving or a lightweight countertop. The venting system is a simple rear exhaust that relies on room air circulation, which means in a cramped kitchen you might notice a warm draft near the back wall. Also, because the decks are independent, you have to juggle 2 temperature dials. That learning curve can be a little confusing the first few times you try to bake 2 different items simultaneously. Finally, the 14-inch deck limits you to medium-sized pies. If you're used to 16-inch New York-style slices, you'll have to cut them down or go for a smaller crust. Who should buy this? If you love hosting pizza nights, run a small catering side hustle, or simply crave that authentic wood-fired flavor without buying a whole outdoor oven, the Waring Double Deck gives you that high heat in a compact package. It's also a solid choice for families who want to involve kids in the cooking process. Kids can watch the pizza transform in real time, and the quick bake keeps the excitement high without a long wait. For anyone who already has a decent countertop oven and only makes pizza occasionally, the extra deck and dedicated stone might feel like overkill, especially given the space it occupies. Who should skip it? If you live in a tiny apartment with limited counter space, or if your kitchen ventilation is already stretched thin, you'll likely struggle with the heat and the rear exhaust. Also, if you're looking for a gadget that doubles as a full-size grill or smoker, this model stays focused on pizza and won't give you that versatility. Finally, if you're a strict budget shopper, the price point is higher than a single-deck countertop oven, and you'll need to be sure you'll use both decks enough to justify the spend. In terms of value, the real money saver is the ability to bake 2 items at once without sacrificing the optimal temperature for either. That alone cuts cooking time in half during busy gatherings, which can be the difference between a smooth evening and a rushed,